anything that does not rotten up in your house for more than 7 days, that means you should stop buying that.
Hi, I'm Bhuban Selvanathan, founder of the Blue Number Foundation, and you are listening to The Edge Show.
Welcome to that show, a podcast where I sit with some amazing personalities from across sectors and borders to have meaningful conversation on topics that matters to us. Welcome back. My guest for the day is someone who is an expert when it comes to food. He is a celebrity, a well-known restaurateur, an entrepreneur, host of various popular food or cookery shows, and now a podcaster. Winner of various accolades, our very own dancing chef of India, who adds a twist of taste and flavors with his jingle, Namak Shamak, and a dear friend. He is Chef Harpal Singh Sokhi. Hi Harpal, welcome on the show.
Hi, Imanchu. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show.
Harpal, you are a celebrity chef and have been in this space since a long time.
Ji.
Uh, First, I wish to understand from you that what it takes to become a chef and the responsibilities that we can expect from a chef.
Okay, so firstly, chef is a very passionate thing, and I'll take you through a brief journey of mine and how I became a chef. So that is something which will give the complete highlight to what it needs to become a chef. So while I was studying in a small, town in India, which is Kharagpur, which is in West Bengal, known for IIT and railways. So you have two choices as parents, that either the child joins IIT or the child joins railways. Giving a security on one side, and the upside is IIT. And somehow during my time, IHM, the Institute of Hotel Management, was not very well known. And we never knew, as small town guys, we never knew what hotels are all about. Okay, so for us, dining out would be probably what we call adda, or the neighborhood tea stall, where probably after a good cricket game or a good football game, sometimes we would go and drink tea. Not always though, sometimes. And that was the best outing that you could have. So we never knew what hotels or restaurants is all about. And somehow I bumped into joining a hotel school, without knowing anything. So it was a family decision that, okay, let's give a try, because it's a skill set program, and maybe in time to come it might become very very good. Okay, so and it might help me grow in my life. So I decided to join without knowing anything. I think in the first 3 months is when I started liking the course within my heart. And that's where the bell rang that this is something which I want to do. So the first criteria is that you have to be a passionate person for cooking. Okay. And you need to put your ego all on the side, because of the simple fact that you might come from the best of the families, where your family might not have probably even asked you to lift a cup from your study table to the sink. But a hotel school and a hotel job and a chef's job requires you to mop the floor, wash the utensils, lift gunny bags. It makes you show both sides of life. It makes you show the labor side of life, okay, where you are actually working almost like a laborer. And it also shows you the life of an innovator, creator, a passionate person, a person with a heart, okay, a person with some science. And these two sides, when they merge, and if your heart tells that I have both of this, and I will work as hard as possible to make a mark for myself in life, you are then ready to be a chef. And it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of love, it's a lot of passion, and these all things put together makes you a good chef. And and of course, Imanchu, I would like to absolutely make this point. There are many chefs, but there are few chefs who can cook good food. Okay, jisko in English we call, you have been gifted by God the skill in your hands, like a mother. Okay, a mother has the skill in hands, and that actually comes when you are really passionate, you are really in love with what you're doing, and that helps you cook good food. So these are my observations as I grew up into becoming a chef.
You know how people look at a chef? A chef is a person who cooks visually appealing, delicious, and healthy food. Do you feel that in a world like today, we are actually eating what's healthy and nutritious?
Well, I tell you, there are two sides again to this. I wouldn't say that today's world eats nutritious all the time, but if it is just pure home food, okay, it is definitely nutritious, because somebody is responsible for cooking, and he's visually seeing that what I'm cooking is actually visible to me, and in my mindset I know what I'm cooking is healthy. So that actually where it comes from, which is why we always tell that home cooked food is the best, because someone is responsible. Not that somebody who cooks in a hotel or in a roadside eatery or on a packaged food is not responsible. They are responsible also, but there is overindulgence in something. Okay, so when there is overindulgence in something, you need to manage and maintain your lifestyle accordingly. So in today's world, if you are indulging, you better learn. So a man firstly has to learn and understand his body. You see, the body triggers whenever you do a wrong thing for a longer period of time. So it will trigger you, it will tell you, hello, there's something wrong. I'm not able to process what you are eating. Better maintain a healthier lifestyle. And in today's world, it starts from the young children. Okay, it definitely starts from the young children, and that's where the damage starts happening. And those damages fortunately are reversible because of your age, and your body is still producing enough enzymes and cells to rebuild itself. So I would say that if you are indulging, there is no harm in indulgence, eating food outside, but you need to balance it out. You don't do exercises, you don't work out, then sorry, you need to be very careful about what you're eating, how you're eating. Are you eating it as per seasons? Are you eating at the right time of the day? These things matter a lot. You see, I tell you, India definitely has a lot of good stuff. Okay, but when I look at West has a fantastic habit which Jainism follows. West definitely eats their dinner before 7 o'clock, which is sunset. Okay, and that is what helps them live a better life. They walk a lot. Okay, they do not take too many luxuries. Even the best of the persons will not take too much luxuries. If he's to walk to his home, he would walk to his home. If he were to cycle, he would cycle to home. If he were to probably, do exercise in the weekend, he will do exercises. But the best thing is, he definitely has dinner before 7 p.m., and which is the rule book of today's world. He definitely need to have, on even the West definitely indulges in a good breakfast. So these two things, when they are sorted well, even if you did not have your lunch to an extent, or you probably, you know did not give too much time to lunch, and you gave time to dinner and a good breakfast, actually sorts it up. So I would say it's important for people to understand that if they're indulging, you better maintain a lifestyle, even though the food could be coming from outside of a restaurant, okay, which could be responsible for something. Your body definitely tells you to, stop when it needs to stop, and you have to stop them. So there is a balance out which is left to an individual. It is not left to a restaurateur that he's cooking bad food or he's not maintaining certain things. It is left to an individual to manage his own body, because his own body is the temple and he needs to keep it clean. And that's very, very important, Himanshu.
Harpal, it is often seen that the eating preferences are based on the belief systems.
Correct.
Some believe that eating non-vegetarian food is good, while other believes that vegetarian is good. And then we also have those who eat vegan.
Yeah.
Don't you feel that we are actually getting into a food trap wherein our focus is on eating what the companies are selling us under various heads and not what's right for us?
Again, Imanshu, we would come back to the same old story that the body sends trigger signals. Okay, I have my father-in-law. Okay, who's about 86 now, 85, 86. Okay, he eats non-veg. His food definitely contains oil, but he has to go for his morning walk. Okay, come rain, come what may. Okay, most important thing that he keeps in his mind is that I will have nothing to worry. Okay, so the triggers start from worry. Okay, so if you are worrying too much, be careful about what you are eating. So when you are eating and you are worrying, that means you are actually calling for trouble. So there's a lot of HCl produced in your stomach, and that's going to be damaging. So you need to understand very well. So first, keep the worry aside. Okay, then start following a good diet. So there could be, people who are indulgent in eating complete non-vegetarian food. Then there could be some people who have an intolerance toward gluten, an intolerance toward dairy, and sometimes you are intolerant towards cereals. Okay, grains. So there is an intolerance because probably of your DNA structure in the body. But having said this, what I have learned from Hindu mythology and Indian mythology is that humans are born vegetarian. They are not born non-vegetarian. Okay, they are born. Their teeth structure is born and defined to eat vegetarian food. So you are born vegetarian. However, if your genetic structure for ages has been eating non-vegetarian, which means you have built that structure in yourself when from the birth that you are able to consume non-vegetarian food. Having said all this, Himanshu, again it comes that if you are eating, say for example, I would say India, of course, it looks like India is a vegetarian country, but actually it is not so. About 65% plus consume heavy non-vegetarian food. Having said this, if I look at the West and if I look at the Middle East, and even if I look at Far East, they are all non-vegetarian eaters, but they balance it out well by giving a lot of fiber, a lot of greens, a lot of citric, which helps them. Again, um, are these countries not looking at protecting their future generations? They definitely are looking at protecting future generations by keeping them informed about certain things which are going to be trouble, of which I would say gluten is one of them, dairy is one of them, non-vegetarian is definitely one of them. So uh, you again have to balance it out, Himanshu. Like I as a chef and as a person, um, I balance it out. Sometimes when I see that I've eaten a lot of non-vegetarian, I leave it for probably a month, 2 months, 3 months, do some cleansing act in my body, and then if at all it comes again to eat some non-vegetarians over an occasion, I get into it. So it's all balanced out for a person, the DNA structure, where you're born, if your family's been eating, if it's got a history of some kind of a cardiac issue, then you better stay away from non-vegetarian foods. Having said this, will you not be prone to cardiac things? You would be, because your DNA structure is defined that way since birth, and you need to be protective, and that can be done. Okay, what is internal as a disease can be protected through food, and that protection needs to be taken care of by an individual, not anybody else outside the companies, because even all companies, outside companies, they have to grow, they have to build, they create employment, they help a lot of people, okay, to probably live a better life. So they would keep producing. It is again coming back to an individual to note what he is eating, what he is consuming.
When it comes to individuals, then yes, there are multiple ways on how our dietitians or nutritionists are empowering us on what to eat and what not to eat. But
Absolutely.
at the same time, there is a lot of research going on how different corporations are providing us rotten food.
Yes.
You talk about meat, dairy, or even chocolates. Don't you feel that these corporations are only bothered about their top line instead of the consumer's health? And secondly, how can a consumer understand that he is buying
Yes.
a genuine and healthy food item instead of falling into a glamorous trap laid by a company?
Okay, so Himanshu, from again coming back to our ancient Indian mythology, okay, which is a very strong mythology, and the world needs to look into it. Okay, firstly, the moment anything is plowed out of, picked up from the farm, okay, and by the time it comes to your home, there is deterioration happening. Okay, definitely there's deterioration happen, and the faster you consume it, the better it is. Absolutely, this is the rule book. The moment it goes into a packaged product, I would not deny it that yes, even though you are protecting the packaged product from rotting in whatever form, you are definitely consuming food which is not right. Okay, but can you run away from it? You cannot run away from it. And this percentage in the world will keep increasing as life keeps getting busier. So the first foremost thing which I started off this discussion is that if you are living, like example, when I used to go to my village, most of the food was picked up immediately from the fields of my uncles. Okay, we would pick up the sarson ka saag, the spinach leaves, the sugar cane, the grains that we had. We would pick up most of the vegetables and leafy vegetables for the day. On that day, come back home and make food, which was the best way of consuming food. But with urbanization, can you do it? You cannot do it. Even the green leafy vegetables which comes to our house, they remain in our house in the refrigerator for 7 days. So first I would advise is, for an individual, please, if you were to buy products which are fresh, okay, let them be fresh. Do not stock up your refrigerator, even though the refrigerator people might have said that this will keep vegetables fresh for 10 days, even though it might keep for fresh for 10 days. But did the individual understand how to stack a refrigerator? Because he has dairy inside, he has non-veg inside, he has chocolate inside, he has eggs inside, and he has fresh produce, and he has his own cooked food inside a refrigerator. So try and understand what is happening inside the refrigerator. So that is scary actually. People don't understand that. Having said this, urbanization, you cannot run away from all this. You cannot. If you are cooking good food at home every day, fresh, you are living the best life. But the moment you say that I am opening a tin, okay, so a tin can have additives to protect. Secondly, a tin has been cooked for long, okay. So, firstly, like in these recent days, I've been reading and studying a lot about probiotic. So, with aging, it is being told that you eat a lot of probiotic. So, when you cook food, you actually kill most of the good things that are present in food. So, you've already done that. So, the moment it gets into the tin, you have almost killed more than 60-70% of whatever is good inside in the fresh as compared to the fresh. So you've already done the damage. What our urbanization is happening is, again, you cannot run away. So if you're using a 10 product, you balance it out by having at least 50% plus fresh produce, which could be in the form of salads, which could be in the form of raw veggies, steamed veggies, which you can do it at home. You cannot run away from this. You have to do it in your house. You balance the structure of your plate. Even though there could be 10 products, you need to balance it out, because can we all run away in urbanization from these 10 products? I don't think so. And it is this segment of urbanized people who will be maximum affected, because they are affected from lifestyle diseases. They are not affected from diseases that are caused from outside. And once you are affected from lifestyle diseases, the diseases from outside will impact you more. So it's very important that you structure your plate. Even if you have opened, for example, for Indians, I would say, even if you have opened a frozen paratha, which actually might not have any additives, having said this, it is made probably 2 months, 3 months before, and it has come to your dining table after 2, 3 months, and you have reheated. Please balance it out by adding some fresh vegetable which you have cooked for that day. Eat some salad along with it, so that the whole thing balances, it neutralizes, and you can do it right. Yeah, that's very, very important. And yes, Himanshu, you did mention that. Uh, do corporates create a marketing gimmick? Yes, they do create a marketing gimmick. So are soft drink goods for health? They are definitely not good for health. Okay, I would structure it that way. Is the regular packaged drinking water good for health? I would say it is not good for health. So you might probably drink tap water. In India also, I would say you better drink tap water, which is healthier than the packaged drinking water. So these are things you can't run away from it, but it is again the individual. He needs to understand how to balance it out.
And other than the canned or packed products, one thing which is also mushrooming
Yeah,
these days, and I'm not just saying it in the Indian context, as it's in global context, is that how the larger corporations which
yeah,
are in the farming space are using mall practices for growing their produce. And when the food
yes.
comes on your table, you actually don't know what are you eating. For example, the okra might look green to you, but you certainly don't know how many pesticides or chemicals have been used during its farming to make it look like a healthy vegetable.
So, Himanshu, I would come to this. We have recently started a brand, and we are working closely with farmers. What you are mentioning is definitely visible amongst a lot of large corporate houses, where they want to, produce yield per hectare every year on year. It needs to grow, because the person who's there, uh, probably looking at the farming, has been given a task that this year, if the produce is 10%, next year it has to be 13%, 15%, not knowing that the field can produce only so much, come what may. Okay, come what may, you cannot. So today, if they are practicing or getting into some wrong practices, remember the earth will take back. And that's a natural phenomenon. Whoever the corporate house is, it is going to take back. Okay, after a certain point of time, the field is not going to produce. You add as much pesticide you want after a certain point, because recently I conducted my learning sessions with a person who's actually working on regeneration and reevaluation of a soil. Okay, so he clearly said the more pesticides that got into farming below 6 feet or 8 feet, there is a layer of plastic formation that happens, and where the earth does not breathe. And the moment the earth does not breathe, whether it is any corporate house, it's not going to produce beyond a certain scale for farming. So when we do our farming, we interacted with our farmers. We said that we don't want, even though the produce would be small and it might not be available throughout the year, probably a corporate house might not be able to do so. We are okay with saying that, okay, if my turmeric has a great curcumin value of 6% and above, or 5% and above, and it is available only for 6 8 months, because that's the time it is produced, and it cannot be produced at my will. So it has to be that way. So people who are probably smart will probably stock up. People who are not smart, they will not stock up. For corporate houses, it is their P&L that speaks. So they will also learn. Okay, there will be stricter laws, maybe. Okay, hopefully all governments and the bodies responsible for building up these laws understand that it is humans who are consuming, and it is even they who are consuming it. So it is might as well protect people. The more you protect people, the better it is for the earth. The more you damage it, it is going to take back whatever you are trying to do against it. So all corporate houses, whatever said and done, cannot work against nature. And I am clear believer that nature will take back if you're trying to play with it. Whoever you are in the world, okay, whatever wrong you are doing, so if you're doing wrong, it's going to take back from you whatever you're doing. That's the law of universe, and I strongly believe that it will take back.
I agree that the law of universe will certainly take it back. But how should a consumer be aware about the kind of produce that they are procuring, be it veggies, fruits, or even grains?
So I'll give you a very beautiful example, Himanshu. I had this girl with whom I am doing probiotic learning. Okay, just about yesterday, we are recording today. So just yesterday, when we had our session of probiotic food, I'll give you a very classic example, Himanshu. She said, "I want to buy cauliflower which has insects in it." You know what it means? Himanshu, it means that cauliflower has not been sprayed with pesticides, and the insect is able to live. Why do you spray pesticide? You spray because you don't want it to be infected. She said that when she goes to the market, she actually looks for a cauliflower which has those little green worms in there. Now that is a big statement, and I tell you, even a person like me woke up yesterday, although early stages, I remember when my mother and my father and all of them used to bring vegetables back home, mostly the cauliflower would have those green worms. That is because no pesticide was sprayed, and it is very healthy to have a green worm roaming around on a cauliflower. So that was an eye opener for me, and I realized that that is one way of looking at a fresh vegetable. You cannot buy anything that is looking very plastic. You see, for yourself, for all individuals who are listening to this podcast, I must tell you, anything that does not rotten up in your house for more than 7 days, that means you should stop buying that. Please stop buying that, because that is not produced in the right manner, that is not cultivated in the right manner, it is not rotting up, because even the bacteria is not willing to eat it. So that is the first step. You learn from that. Okay. The second step, if you're buying canned things, you're buying bottled things, you better start reading the labels. You must start reading labels, even if they are in the smallest font. Take a picture on your mobile phone, enlarge it, and see certain things which are harmful. You look at trans fats, and if you are prone to some medical disorders with related to cardiac, please stop buying everything that is trans fat, okay, that are rich in trans fats, because you're going to run in trouble. If there anything that is too sugary, please stop buying. If you're diabetic, please look at that. Please start reading the label. Okay. If anything that has too many E series and you have problem with them, please stop buying it. I mean, you need to look at that. And that again comes back to how much time you want to spend in the kitchen. And I think every individual can spend time in the kitchen if he smartly manages the kitchen very well. So it's very important for a person to see that whatever he's buying, which is fresh produce, if it is not rotting, stop buying that. And if anything that you're buying which is canned, that label needs to be read properly by an individual.
This actually took me back to my childhood when my father used to tell me that if you are buying fruits,
Yeah,
then if it is eaten by a bird, then you must pick that fruit instead of picking up the shiny looking
absolutely.
one. As if birds can survive after eating this fruit, then so can you.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. That is what I learned, Himanshu, yesterday. And I tell you, there are two basic things for good health, which is so ignored, Himanshu. One is water, okay, the second is salt. That's about it, Himanshu. Can you believe this? These are two basic things. You need to correct this. Every individual needs to correct this in their house.
Don't you feel that it is the outcome of the misinformation that the corporates are feeding us?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Imanchu, I'm telling you, I'm coming back to water. So every time we are thirsty, we go and pick up a bottle of water which has a blue cap. That's the worst thing to do. Okay, basics as water, I'm telling you. Okay, water is the best, I would say, healer in the world. And if you are drinking right water, there's nothing going to there's nothing going to happen to you. And the world, in time to come, is definitely going to fight over water.
Harpal, now you are a father of two beautiful young girls
Yes.
and they are still in school. Don't you feel that they are living in a much challenging world wherein everything is being fed to them and they are acting based on the miscommunication or misinformation that they are consuming?
Okay, Imanchu, I will again correct here. I would correct myself here. I had my younger daughter, when we used to tell her that please don't eat, the chips, and if you're eating, better go and jog. I don't deny that you cannot eat because there's peer pressure. That you are amongst 10 people, and if 10 of your out of 10 of your friends, 5 have bought a packet of chips and they have offered you and you eat, and sometimes it is the peer pressure, it leads to mental pressure, and all that happens. But if you're doing that, better go and jog with me, walk with me. And my younger daughter, initial days, she never. Now she's so careful about her diet that she knows to read labels. She understands fat content of a packaged product, and she knows to balance out that if I'm indulging on Sunday, from Monday to Saturday, I will not indulge, I will keep it balanced. And that's how it happens. And that's an individual's learning. In spite of me teaching them so much, I could never change them. One fine day, I took a large individual chip, okay, Porado chip, okay, and I put it up on a candle. Okay, as the chip started burning, I took a white piece of paper and I just kept it on top of it, and I showed them how much drops of oil is coming out of the chips. There were 50 drops of oil from a chip which was the size of 3 inches by 2 inches. 50 drop of oil means about 2 tablespoons of oil. Can you believe that? And if your body is not prepared, and if you are having a life which is sedentary, which most children of urban culture have, they will pay the price. I am not saying that I did not eat chips in my childhood. I did. But I used to play for 3.5, 4 hours. Cricket, football, whatever it was. I never had a car. I used to walk up, down, climb stairs up and down my stadium. So I did that. I burnt out everything. So if you're not burning it out, something will burn inside your body. So it's very important for you and an individual to know what he's eating.
You know, your daughters are blessed because of
Yeah.
you and you understand so much about food, but certainly majority of the people don't understand what food is and they eat whatever they feel is right for them instead of what is actually right for them. In this
No,
case, how do you
absolutely.
feel that we should be educating our people about the healthy eating habits and not what corporates are calling healthy?
So I would say that, first, foremost, come back home to eat good food for all children across the world. I would say come back home to eat good food. Okay, as much as you can. Okay, the more you can. We are blessed in India that women's mostly spend about 5 hours, 4 hours in the kitchen. Can the West world do it? Yes, they can do it. Because I have gone to the Western world and stayed for some times. I see that people come back home by 6, 7 on their working days, or sometimes at 5 o'clock on their working days, because they believe that next day they have to reach the office at 7. So between 5 to 7, they can cook good food at home. They can consume good food at home, involve their children. And it is when children see themselves in the kitchen, what is being cooked and how it is being cooked, they start believing that this is better food than what is available outside. So that is the first step. Involve children in the kitchen. The more they get involved in the kitchen, the better their understanding of good food happens across the world, I tell you. mostly in India. Fortunately, in the last 5 6 years, Himanshu, what we have seen is because of the television culture opening up, because of a lot of chefs turning into celebrity chefs and people, especially male members, where India had a taboo of male members entering the kitchen, which has changed in the last, I would say, 6 to 8 years. And more people want to spend time in the kitchen and help their families, which is becoming a very good thing for India. The more they help, the more they understand good food, the more they cook good food at home, the better will be their health. So I first step want to tell people is involve children in the kitchen. Do not let them stay away from the kitchen, even though if it is for a day or a two. Let that be an eye opener. See, the day you start pouring too much oil in your sabzi, when they stand, oh, mom, you add so much oil in the food, it will be the first statement, and that is where the change will start happening. So when you have children, when you have the family in the kitchen, there is some sort of excitement, some sort of help, some sort of knowledge transfer to the youngsters, and it becomes very, very helpful. Next stage is, yes, I mean, we cannot stop people from indulging in food from outside. Yes, you should allow them to eat food from outside. That's how economies also grow. But be careful with what you eat from outside. Be careful about burning it out. There is nothing wrong in that. So burn it out, what you eat, and study about food. Transfer. Initial days in India, we were all blessed that our grannies used to transfer the kitchen knowledge to the next in line who would settle up a family to such an extent. And Imanchu, in the last few months, I would say, I wouldn't say long, but last few months that I've been involved with a lot of these, villagers and a lot of these rishi munis and even some of these corporate people who went and joined farming, who have been now educating me, and we are now transferring that education to the world, saying that what is good, what is right, how you should do, how home remedies are helping people, and these all things are very important. And of them, I will tell you, last year November, before the pandemic hit the world, out of the blue, we just said that India should drink Giloy juice and Giloy Kada or Giloy tea. Okay. Now, Giloy is a runner which runs around various trees, and it is the best when it runs around a neem tree. And that runner stem, if you just boil it with ginger, cloves, pepper, okay, nothing is going to touch you. Nothing is going to even be near you. And if you were to drink best quality turmeric with a very good curcumin value with black pepper in the morning, every morning you have a glass of it, okay? With this combination, nothing is going to touch you. And the West has also adapted to these cultures which India had, and now India is coming back to it. And I was talking about the Giloy juice which I made. Then across the country, as I posted on my social network, across the country, people wrote back to me, Chef, I remember my granny giving me this extract, and this has been very helpful. And I tell you, it will come back in India. And the culture that we have in India about ancient science of food is the best in the world. We are the last bastions of good food in the world. The tribals have such immense knowledge about keeping and leading a healthy life. Can you believe them running up and down a hill, which is about probably 6,000 feet, 8,000 feet? Last year or 2 years back, when I was in Uttarakhand, I was seeing how the locals were running up and down, carrying about 6, 8 bamboos on their shoulders, and they were running. And I was like, next door, when I was doing this trek, and they were saying, man, I was asking them, I said, how come you do? I said, well, they're doing. Now I understand that they eat certain Himalayan herbs which keeps them fit. And one of them is hemp seeds, okay, which is high in omega 3, omega 6, omega 9, which they keep chewing when they keep climbing mountains. So it is amazing that the culture we have in India, the knowledge about food we have in India, which eventually has started transferring to the youngster in this country. and the youngsters will adapt to all these beautiful things. If they don't, then we really have to worry.
So this is something interesting, and I also remember what we were discussing the other day about what tribals eat,
Yes.
and this always makes
Yeah.
me wonder that tribals are not fussy about food. They don't have taste buds or eating preferences. They only eat whatever they have in their natural environment, and yet they are much healthier than us. And on the other end, we eat as per what's been told to us, and I sometimes feel that this particular misinformation is making us weak.
So first thing, Imanchu, is we are trapped with a lot of processed foods. So that is first thing. So ask any nutrition, any dietitian. First thing she will tell you that remove mostly all the processed foods that you are bringing home. Okay, so tribals don't have anything processed at all. So that's the first thing people should do. The second thing is eat as per seasons. You can't eat anything every time. Okay, it's very important to understand that. You can't just keep having cauliflower throughout the year. You can't just keep having tomatoes throughout the year. I remember, for India used to eat as per ritukal, which is as per the seasons calendar. Okay, it never used to eat same food throughout the year, and till date it is still observed in the kitchens of rural India other than the urban India. Urban India believes that, oh, tomato, it needs to be there throughout the year because that's what we have seen in urban culture. It should not be there throughout the year. Tomato is a winter fruit, man. It needs to be there in winters. The runner beans and all that, all those things with high moisture content and hydration, which protects your hydrations, need to be eaten in summers. So ivy god, pointed god, snake gods, all those gods need to be eaten in summers. You cannot just consume everything what you feel like. Rainy season brings in a lot of leafy vegetable because that's when the earth produces the fresh greens. So you need to eat that. So you can't just keep eating everything every time. So that's what we have done wrong. And it happens from day one as you are born. If you are born in an urban culture, from day one you are taken through that route that actually spoils the internal system, and the internal system, when it gets damaged after an extent of 30, 40 years of eating the same crap without any knowledge, then it is irreversible. It cannot be changed. So it is very important for urban families to understand this. Eat what is available in summers, eat what is available in rainy season, eat what is available in winters. So that is very, very important. Tribals observe this in the best manner, Himanshu. Secondly, tribals, what I've observed is they live in places where they do not have proper water, okay? And they have small pieces of land for cultivation, okay? They do not use pesticides. Whatever they produce, they just produce for themselves. And whatever nature gives them as per season is what they eat. They do not cultivate. They cultivate only grains for their consumption. Rest, all green things, fruits, comes from the natural produce that is available in jungles. For them, the water comes from the stream that is running from the mountain to the downside, down the hill. So when it keeps running, it is mineral rich, it has high pH content, and that is the best thing. And you and me might have observed that tribals do not have a height of 6 feet, 7 feet. They have a height of maximum 5 feet, 2 inches, 3 inches. And they can run, okay, up and down a hill with a heavy sack, which could be probably 100 kgs or 550 kgs easily, and that is what is important. So they have been eating right from the day one. And the best thing, Imanshu, I was also taught by a person who is now helping all the tribal villagers to improve their soil cultures, is he said, Harpal, they do not eat sea salt at all. That is one of the most damaging things in the world. Can you believe this, Imanshu? Sea salt is the most damaging thing in the world. The salt that comes from Rocky Mountains, rocks, is the best thing. The salt that comes from the sea is absolutely. I mean, sorry. Now more so, it has become worse because as it is, the oceans are polluted. Okay, with more plastic, and more plastic. Okay, so what's going to happen? The marine life itself is in danger, and we are kind of extracting salt from the sea, which is filled with plastic and dirt. And do you think you can separate the plastic and the salt? No, it's absolutely. So the tribals don't eat salt. For them, it is the citric thing that adds to the taste, and the citric things come from citric leaves, the knowledge of which only they have, and that is what they add to their food. They do not add anything. And I must also tell you, Himanshu, for them, oil means mustard oil only. The world think mustard oil is dangerous. For the tribals, they think only mustard oil or sesame oil. That's about it. They don't know anything else. So they know what is to be eaten, and that tradition, Imanshu, is passed ages to ages, and they don't want to change, and that is why it is good for them.
Remember the other day when we were discussing something over a call, and you had mentioned that tribals eat teak leaves,
Yes,
and I was like, why we were never told about eating teak leaves?
yes,
We know so much about teak furniture, but
yes.
we certainly don't know anything about teak leaves.
So, Himanshu, this is something which is very interesting, and the world should know through this podcast, Himanshu. So, the teak leaves, which are the young shoots, okay, as the teak tree becomes very big, a teak tree lives for more than 100 plus years, okay. If it is untouched, it is not, it is kept in the natural conditions. So, as the teak, springs up every spring, so they take those young leaves, which are red in color, they pluck them, they boil them, okay, because it's very very strong, okay, and they make a concoction which is very very strong, okay. That concoction is kept for months, and they take 50 ml to 30 ml shots every day. They give it to their children also, okay. And their dining leaves, are what they are, those large teak leaves. So they eat mostly in teak leaves, and that's what is important. They do not use anything what we use like a bone china or things like that. They use teak leaves or leaves which has some large leaves actually. So mostly it is teak leaves which I've learned where the plantation of teak is high. So this denture which they make is so helpful. And after making the denture, what is left from the leaf, which is still very strong, is eaten as a leafy vegetable by just adding mustard oil, not even salt, and they have some rural herbs. They add that, and that's what they eat. What better than this, Himanshu?
Eating on leaves has been a part of Indian culture since centuries,
Yes,
and even till today, if you go down south, then they eat on banana leaves, and this is something which we have been doing, but since last few years,
yes.
I find it to be missing from the urban India.
So, Himanshu, you must understand, the problem. All this problem also goes back to the governments. Okay, we have been now seeing in the last probably 10 years that we need to do afforestation and increase our forest. We first actually trimmed our forests. Okay, we first damaged the forests. We let the greens go, to dogs actually, because we wanted urbanization. So, okay, you do urbanization, there is no problem in it. Urbanization is something which will happen, but are you planting enough? Are you doing enough? Okay, so that is what is mostly important. Okay, in your childhood also, Imanchu, and in my childhood, when we used to eat around the street side, okay, so those famous pani puris, those puff puris with those beautiful, concoction of coriander and mint, which we used to get early days, we used to always get those in leafy, I would say, cups, and we would eat from that. And now that culture has changed, and now we've got the culture changed to probably a paper plate with a silver lining, which could be good, which could be damaging. We are eating from that now. So, as compared to what was natural, we have gone to synthetic. So, it is going to create some problem. Somewhere it is going to create problem. So, it is better you eat from a proper stainless steel plate rather than anything which is a silver coated plate, or a styrofoam plate, which is worse to eat actually. A styrofoam is the worst thing if to have food in, and we have been seeing since last 10-15 years. So you go to marriages, you go to small marriages, you get styrofoam plates. You go to any gathering, you get styrofoam plates. Fortunately, the government has taken some stand on it, and now I think it is reduced to quite a lot of extent in India also.
This kind of reminds me of something, although it has nothing to do with food. If you remember, in earlier days, we used to brush our teeth and gums with charcoal.
Yes.
And suddenly a company came in and said that charcoal is bad for you, so you should use toothpaste. And after all these years, the same company came up with another advertisement and said, for better gums, you should be using charcoal toothpaste.
So I tell you, first thing is, Himanshu, is first thing is, if you go to the Rishi Muni, okay, the man who lives in hermits in the jungles in the Himalayas, he does not brush his teeth. Okay, a very knowledgeable person will also say that you need to have good bacteria around your mouth. Okay, you need to have your mouth salivating also.
True.
So, because that's where the food first enters and the bacteria in your mouth starts jumping. So, the more you clean your teeth, the more you. Bad breath does not come from teeth, Himanshu. Bad breath comes from eating bad food. It comes from food that is getting rotten in your system. So it could be rotting in your stomach. It is over excessive eating and it is not getting digested. That is where bad breath comes from. Bad breath is not from teeth. So you need to be very careful. So we understand this, Imanchu, very well, that early days it kept changing. The toothpaste companies kept changing their dialogues, and you and I remember, for us, toothpaste many a times was the charcoal dust. That is what we used to get, and we
Right.
used to take it with little water and rub it on our teeth, and then gargle and wash it across. And that is what we did many a times. Many a times we would take stems of neem tree or some other tree and rub it on our teeth, which even till date the rural India does it. Okay, so those are good things that they do, and many a times the rural India does not brush teeth for 2-3 days, which is a good habit, which is actually a good habit. It is not a bad habit. I mean, somebody said that brush your teeth for 2 times a day, 3 times a day after every meal. You need to gargle after every meal. Okay, you need to gargle after every meal. You need to flush or whatever, probably the food particles that are stuck out, to take it out, or you can just rub it with a finger. You don't need to brush it out with something which is chemicals. So if you carefully read what is in a toothpaste and what is in a washing powder, some of the ingredients will almost be the same, Imanshu. It will be
That's
same.
true. That's true. That's true. And one thing which I have learned a couple of years back, because no one told us,
Yeah,
and since we were so much in awe with the toothpaste advertisements,
correct,
and we thought that this is the
correct,
right thing to have, is that first, one should never brush the teeth, and secondly, the only thing that one
correct,
should be doing is
correct,
to look after the health of the gums and not the health of the teeth. And the stems that you rightly pointed
correct.
out, we used to chew those stems while doing light
Yes.
massage on our gums.
So even so, so Imanshu, if you look at all toothpaste advertisement, nobody talks about teeth. They always talk about improving your gums. मसूड़ों को मजबूत करे, हिंदी में मसूड़े को मजबूत करे। मसूड़ो तो दांत नहीं है, those are your gums. No, they show the shine of the teeth, and it is also ignorance, Himanshu, I would say, on the part of people. So, Masude is gums, it is not teeth. They actually show you silver shining teeth, which is what you believe, that if I brush with this toothpaste, my teeth will be shining silver. But the advertisement actually was saying about gums, it was never saying about teeth. You see, that's where is the most funny thing. That's the most funny thing, you know.
And this is the same thing happening in the food culture as well,
Yes.
especially when companies are coming up and saying that you should have certain cereals or cornflakes for breakfast.
That, I mean, what? I mean, okay, you're changing the culture is absolutely, but you're again processing a product. While all nutritionists and dietitians are clearly mentioning that you keep the processing things, I mean, the people who are probably, consuming it, it is because lack of time. I would say, I would rather tell them that if you were actually to eat a cereal, nothing wrong in it. Please go ahead and buy some frozen parathas also and keep it in your fridge, because the frozen parathas are actually more better than probably the cereals. I would say it that way. Just all that you need to check is the fat content in the paratha that is frozen, and you're sorted, man. That is much better. That is whole wheat flour,
True,
and it is much better.
true, so true. And again, eventually everything goes on to people and how they should be processing their food
Yes,
or how they are nurturing their eating habits.
yes,
But you came to this podcast because you also felt that this is a moral responsibility to spread awareness.
correct.
But what actually kind of motivated you to come and speak about food traps or unethical practices on our show?
So one thing, Himanshu, I would say is that it began with all began with the family. Although I would say yes, my younger daughter was obese. Now she's come back to normal and she understands good food. And overall, I always keep hearing this in our national telecast through all the eminent leaders that the world big wigs should come to India because India is a young country. Now, if the young country does not protect its youth, then it is of no use. Okay, it is very important for our young country and our youth to remain healthy so that we actually become one of the best countries to think of, because we actually have a great heart. India has been having a great heart. Indian people have a great culture. We definitely believe in helping each other. Not that the other part of the world does not help, but they don't indulge. We overindulge in helping, and which is a very good thing. Which is we are very hospitable. We have seen this in the world. I've traveled across the world. Himanshu, you have traveled across the world. So many good things which are there in the country, which can make our country much better than what it is now, and we need to protect our youth. Yes, it is also we need to understand that whatever India has, it has the best. What we might not have is great marketing tools, which the Western world has. Okay,
I would rather say that we don't have think tanks.
yes. So, but what is there in your kitchen, what is there in your culture, does not need marketing. It needs adaptation in your daily life, in your routine, in your kitchens, in your house. So, once you do that, you yourself will know. I am again coming back. I'm saying that going to a fast food joint and having a pizza or a burger is not bad, but that is occasional. Okay, you cannot go every day and indulge in it. Okay, you need to be protective about your health, and India has so much to offer, so much to offer. Okay, I'm telling you, as I'm learning about India and the produce, and more so now, I'm seeing that what India produces, the world has not yet seen. Although the Michelin star guides, which gives the restaurant Michelin stars, and we are in awe about all those Michelin star restaurant and chefs. I'm sorry, but India has better things than that, which the Michelin does not want to open its eyes and look into India. But we are far better things than what the world has. We need to protect, we need to adapt, we need to promote that within ourselves. We are a billion people. We don't need the world. We are a billion plus people, and each one needs to talk about what India is all about. And I have been shouting from the day one I became, or I was given the tag by these beautiful people of India, that you are a celebrity chef. And I would always say that I am a Desi chef, and I'm a Desi at heart, and I'm an Indian at heart, and I want to tell the world what India has. Okay, you cannot ignore what India has, and people of India, you cannot ignore or leave aside what India has. Please adapt in your kitchens. Please adapt all the cultures, all the habits, all the things that our past generations have given us. Do not just let it go. They are highly valuable. Highly valuable means highly valuable. And I'm seeing now people with whom I'm interacting. They are people who have studied in the best universities in the world. They have come back to India. They have done some great corporate works, but they have left and gone to villages, and they are doing some great work. And I'm becoming, or many of us are becoming, their mediums to shout what India has. And I will keep shouting. And this podcast is a medium because it runs across the world in the best platforms. And Himanshu is a dear friend, and that's the reason I've chosen this. And I think this podcast will help the world to know what India has. And I tell you, listen to us, listen to what India has to offer. Thank you, Himanshu, for having me here.
Thank you, Harpal, for being on the show. It was pleasure having you on the show, my friend. I hope that you all have enjoyed listening to this fun and meaningful conversation with Chef Harpal Singh Sokhi. If you have liked this conversation, then do rate us on Apple Podcasts and share it with your network. And we will meet again in the next episode with another amazing guest. Thank you for listening to The TEDS Show. You can now listen to the same podcast on Apple and Google Podcasts, or you can watch it live on YouTube. And I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, stay safe and stay happy.